I will preface my reflection by saying I got my wife's permission to share the following story. When my wife and I were a young couple just starting out, we bought some basic stoneware plates from IKEA that we used every day. Invariably, they did not withstand the bumps and jostles that come from tired parents and klutzy kids, and they started to chip. And because they were dark blue, it made the white stoneware underneath stand out even more. This irritated me greatly. Perhaps because in Korean tradition, serving food on chipped plates brings bad luck and is a sign of disrespect. I finally had enough and went out to Target and bought a set of those indestructible Corel tempered glass plates for us to use. When I brought them home, my wife commented, "Oh, these look great," and then promptly put the dishes in storage in the pantry. Wait, we're not going to use these dishes? I asked. My wife replied, "Well, the plates we have are perfectly usable. We can just replace each plate individually when they really break and save these for later." I stared at her and briefly contemplated what act of Armageddon would be required to thoroughly destroy all our old plates so we could actually use the new ones. Flustered, I turned to her and said, "Really? You should talk to your therapist about this." That phrase, incidentally, was frequently said between the two of us during that time, as we were both working on ourselves a lot. So Lon went to her therapist, and she reported the following conversation occurred. Therapist: "So you were a refugee from Cambodia, fleeing the Khmer Rouge, and arrived in America at age 9, with no worldly possessions." Lon: "Yes." Therapist: "Are you a refugee now?" Lon: "No." Therapist: "Then why are you still acting like one?" There are some things only your therapist can tell you. By that evening, Lon had replaced the chip plates in our cupboard with new ones. I tell this story as an amusing anecdote, but it also does reveal an important part of generosity that is often neglected. That is generosity to yourself. I note that many people, my wife included, are extremely generous to others. Lon will take time to listen to a friend who is struggling, will write a note of gratitude to someone she appreciates, and bring food to someone who's ailing. But she hasn't always extended that generosity to herself, though she's getting much better at this. As I said, I did get Lon's permission, reluctantly, to share this story, but only on the condition that I note the following detail. Not all of our old stoneware plates were chipped. Lon saved a few that she put at the bottom of the stack that we never used, and she pulled them out to serve guests on them so they would not have chip plates, even though ours did have chips. To be fair to Lon, learning self-generosity flew counter to everything she had learned in those early years of extreme scarcity. In those times, she and her family prioritized the survival of her nuclear family over their individual needs. She suffered real trauma from her experiences that have taken years to work through, and as she pointed out to me, you can take the girl out of the refugee camp, but it's hard to take the refugee camp out of the girl. Self-generosity doesn't justify greed or oversized ego, but I do believe that generosity to ourselves can actually promote the same behavior towards others. Self-generosity allows us grace, to forgive ourselves when we fall short of our own expectations or make mistakes. It allows us to have greater self-acceptance. It fosters appreciation of our successes and gratitude for what we have. These feelings toward ourselves inevitably make us more open to applying them to the people around us. As Kate already noted in her testimonial, generosity does not have to be a slog of sacrifice and selflessness. I would argue that putting ourselves in the middle of generosity makes the act more meaningful and personal. So for all of you who come to our house for dinner, perhaps for a circle dinner, notice that your plates do not have chips in them. And neither do ours.